Today we're making a pineapple cucumber jalapeno salad. And now if you've been looking for an easy side dish to make to take to a summer cookout or picnic, this will be a great option. We're going to start with a pineapple, and there's a lot of different ways to cut a pineapple. I'm going to show you how I do it. I'll start with cutting about 1/2 inch from each of the ends of the pineapple. And so we'll just take the knife down, cut the end off, and then we'll turn it around, do the same thing on the top. Okay, and then we'll just move these out of the way. And now since we've got a flat bottom, we'll go ahead and set the pineapple upright. And then we'll just go work our way around, cutting off the outside skin. And you'll want to cut in enough that you remove the eyes of the pineapple. So like each of these little spots, you'll want to cut those off. But you don't want to go in so far that you cut off the pineapple, the edible part. And if you miss any of the spots, like right here, you can always go back in with the knife and get those later. And we're only going to be using about 2½ cups of pineapple for this recipe, so we're really only going to need to use about half of this. If you did want to go ahead and cut up the whole pineapple, you just would need to double the rest of your ingredients. Okay, and now we just go back through and try to get rid of some of those eyes that were left on there. Okay, and then again, since we're only using half of the pineapple, you could at this point just cut it in half, and that way you can save the other half of the pineapple, just put it in the refrigerator. But I usually like to cut around the core, and the core of the pineapple is right, you'll see that little circle right in the center. That's the part that you want to cut around. You don't want to leave that part. It's not really edible. So I just usually will go around and cut out the sections, like 4 sections around that core. And there we go, that's the core, so we'll set that aside. And then this part is all of our edible portions, which we're only gonna need about 2½ cups. So I'm just gonna work with 2 of these sections for now, and we'll set the other part aside. And so for this, we'll just go ahead and chop this part. Okay, and then so we'll take the pineapple then and add it to our bowl. Okay, and then you will want to, the next thing is our cucumber. So I'm using an English cucumber. You could use like a young, small cucumber, regular cucumber, that would also work. You just want to try to avoid the larger cucumbers because the seeds are larger in those, and you really don't want to add all those large seeds to your salad. So just remove the end of that one. But then I usually will take a cut straight down the middle of the cucumber. And then that way you can lay it flat. It just makes it easier to cut that way. Then if you make another cut down the center again, and again on this one, and then you can just go down the line and chop the rest of the cucumber. And this recipe calls for about a cup. I think I'm going to be adding a little bit more than that, but that's one of the good things about salads are the ingredients are really flexible. Like if you really like a certain ingredient, it's going to be okay to add a little bit more. It's not like baking where everything needs to be exact. So we'll go ahead and add that in our bowl with our pineapple. And then next is our jalapeno. And if you're like me and you don't like to touch the seeds of the pineapple or of the jalapeno, because I always end up if I handle the seeds, I always end up touching my face or my eyes and they end up burning. So this is the way that I like to do it, where I don't remove the stem, just cut the outside, work your way around it, leaving that stem on the jalapeno. Of course, watching your fingers and making sure you don't cut your fingers. But the good thing with doing it this way is all the seeds are right there intact, so you don't have to handle the seeds. So then I'll just take each one of these strips and cut them in half again to make them a little bit smaller. And then I'll line up all of the strips, turn them to the side, and then we'll just go work our way down to cut them into smaller pieces. And again, like the cucumber, if you want to add more than one jalapeno, because your family really likes jalapenos, or if they like the spiciness, feel free to add more. So we'll add those to the bowl with their other two ingredients. And the next is our red onion. This recipe calls for 1/4 cup of red onion, and I've already prepped this one. We have about the amount that we're going to need, so I'll just go ahead and cut this one, just making some strips down the sides. And you know, you always want to, once you cut a piece of your vegetable or produce item and you have a flat side, it's always a good idea to lay that side down on the cutting board. It just helps so with the cutting so that it's not going to wobble around and risk cutting your fingers. So now we'll turn that and then do just like the other vegetables and cut down the opposite direction. And always be sure to watch your fingers, especially as you get to the end. Okay, and we're going to add that to our salad bowl. Okay, and then next is our lime. We're just going to add the juice of 1 lime. So we'll cut that in half. And then cilantro. And now, I know cilantro is one of those things that some people really don't like. You either love it or you hate it. This recipe only requires about 2 tablespoons of cilantro, but if you really don't like it, you can skip this step. You don't have to add it, but I do think that it gives it a really good flavor. So we'll just kind of roughly chop up some cilantro leaves, and we'll add those in. And you could probably use another herb too, like if you wanted to add in maybe some mint, that would probably also work just as well, or maybe some parsley. But I think cilantro works really well with it. And then the last thing is going to be our salt and pepper. And I've just got a little bit of salt and pepper measured out, and you can just salt and pepper to taste. There's no certain amount, or you could even try it without the salt and pepper to see if you really need that or not. And we're just going to mix all of our ingredients together. And again, this salad, it is a really, it's a pretty side dish, and it's healthy. I mean, you've got fruits and vegetables, so it really works well for any kind of, summer picnics, cookouts. If you have a potluck that you're going to this summer, it would be a good, could be a good side dish. It'd also be a great like topping if you had, maybe some grilled chicken or some baked fish. It would be a great topping to put on that as well. But this is the pineapple, cucumber, jalapeno salad. I hope you'll give it a try.
For this recipe and more like it, scan this QR code. We hope you enjoyed this video as part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on the OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.